Thank you, President Draghi, and welcome back again to ECON. And it's very good and encouraging to hear your remarks on fintech, which, as our chairperson said, recently went through the European Parliament. So you outlined the risks and opportunities on fintech, I think, which we all welcome. And other colleagues, I'm sure, will ask you questions on that. I have two questions, President Draghi. The first question is a Brexit-related question. And it's to do with the question of banks relocating from the UK to the Eurozone area. As you know, the ECB, in cooperation with national regulators, takes the final decision on granting a banking licence to those who want to establish within the euro area. So you have a key role in that. And given remarks that have been made by Daniel Noya, your colleague, remarks that have been made by ESMA and EIOPA about a potential race to the bottom, a regulatory race to the bottom, when it comes to supervisors in the Eurozone not creating a level playing pitch, what can the ECB do to make sure that there is a level playing pitch when it comes to the decision as to which of the member states of the Eurozone some of these banks may move to? What's the ECB doing there? I think it's an important question. And then my second question is an Irish-specific question. As you know, from our banking crisis, we have a bank, one of the banks in total public ownership, the Allied Irish Bank. It's one of the 125 systemically important banks under ECB operations. You're aware the Irish government want a partial sale of Allied Irish Bank. And I have two questions for you. One, do you think that now is the time for a partial sale? And could you say, through this committee, to the Irish people, from your view, what are the long-term benefits of that in terms of a better banking, a more stable banking environment for the Irish people, but also in terms of the future stability of the banking system in Ireland? Thank you indeed.
Thank you. On your first question, of course, the ECB is preparing internally for all possible implications coming from the withdrawal process of relevance across the wide range of ECB staff, and this also applies to supervisory aspects. Now, banks are preparing for the UK's withdrawal from the European Union and planning the necessary steps. We are in touch with all of them. We're following closely this process. Of course, as you pointed out, it's not only up to us, but also up to the national competent authorities to follow this. Now, of course, we stand ready to support the banks to reorganize their activities in the euro area. And it's very important that these banks undertake all the necessary preparations in a timely manner. So the first thing is to be timely. By the way, we'll have a chance to discuss this perhaps in the context of different questions, but many of the risks that people view in the Brexit process have to do with the way this process is going to be managed. Inherently, if it's well managed, many of these risks will never materialize. The management, however, has several actors, one of which is the banks themselves. So they have to start preparation at an early time. Now, we got to ensure that all banks that operate in the euro area meet the standards of the European banking supervision. And it's important that neither the safety nor the soundness of our banking system are going to be worse after the process. However, as you pointed out, there are actually risks of supervisory fragmentation and supervisory gap that the SSM currently cannot address. Banks might choose to set up broker-dealers or third-country branches, both of which would not be supervised at the European level. Here, you, as legislators, would need to act to ensure that similar risks are treated similarly and that regulatory arbitrage is to be avoided. So very important, the role of the European Parliament in this process. Now, on your second question, first of all, let me say it's entirely up to the Irish government to determine the appropriate timing of a return of part of the government stake in AIB to the private market. More generally, it's quite desirable to transfer the risks of equity holdings in banks from the taxpayer to the private sector. I would like to note that the process of repairing the balance sheets of Irish banks has advanced significantly since the crisis. certainly progress is there. Great progress is there. Thank you.